Good evening, my students. How are you today? We're going to discuss a new text, which is passage 2 from test 1 in Cambridge IELTS 16. And this is the title, The Step Pyramid of Hoser or Djoser, whatever this pronunciation is. This is probably an old Egyptian word, which is not really in English. Anyway, so as you can see here, you will first meet actually the questions before the text. But what you have to do is you have to start from the paragraph and then go backwards to the options here. This is what you have to do when you're matching headings to paragraphs. Let's see how easy it is to do that. So choose the correct heading for each paragraph from the list of headings below. Write the correct number 1 to 9 in boxes 14 to 20 on your answer sheet. As you can see here, we've got 9 options. And if you count these here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got 2 extra ones here. All right, so how do I answer this question? Simply, I read all of these titles, try to underline the main keywords, and then I immediately go to the text. So we will start from here. We'll start the other way around by starting from paragraph A. So I would draw the focus on the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines, or the first full sentence, which ends here, and the last sentence, which I think starts from here. Because probably the main idea is going to be either here or at the end. So I will go through this very quickly. The pyramids are the most famous monuments of ancient Egypt. So they're famous monuments of Egypt, still hold enormous interest for people in the present day. Okay, we've got an idea here. And I would go down. However, there is no question that as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king designed by a brilliant architect, the step pyramid of Hoser at Saqqara. All right, so we've got an idea. So probably this is my main idea here. This one looks like a general introduction, right? So this is some sort of a general idea or an intro to the topic, and this is probably my main idea. This is how I do it, because I need to find my main idea to be able to connect it to one of these choices. So since I read it now here, I'm going to look for something that means or that has a similar meaning. The areas and artifacts within the pyramid itself, they didn't talk about that. Not yet, at least. A difficult task for those involved. Not really. A king who saved his people. They didn't mention anything about that. Let's see this one now. A single certainty among other less definite facts. Okay, single certainty among less definite facts. This reminds me of something. So here, if I go a little bit backwards here, the evolution of the pyramid form has been written and argued about for centuries. Argued because it means what? Uncertain, right? When you argue about something, nobody's sure about something. However, there is no question. This means what? There is no doubt that as far as Egypt is concerned, it began with one monument to one king, etc. So they say there are some doubts, but this is one major fact for sure. And if you go back again, one certainty, which is there is no doubt, etc., among other less definite facts. So I would choose number 4 here. Now remember to memorize these Roman numerals up until number 10. Number 10 is used, in Roman numerals, we use this X shape to refer to number 10. So I want you to memorize these words. Okay, so we're done with paragraph A. I'm going to go to paragraph B now. And I'm going to read also probably the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines. Now, in some cases, if you do not find the answer, you can go through the whole paragraph, no problem. But just to save time, because you don't have lots of time, especially in reading, it would be advisable to just do this way. Just do it this way. Look at the very first 2 lines or the first sentence and the last part. So Hoser was the first king of the 3rd dynasty of Egypt and the first to build in stone. Okay, So he was the first one to do what? Okay, build in stone. If I want just going to go a little bit further, so prior to Hoser's reign, before this king, tombs were rectangular monuments made of dry clay, etc., and brick, okay, or clay brick. All right, we got an idea. If I go down, this is the last sentence. It starts from here. I can read from here. Hoser or Djoser or whatever is thought to have reigned for 19 years, but home historians and scholars attribute a much longer time for his rule. This looks like rather a detail. This one looks like a main idea to me. Okay, so they talk about that. He is the first one, or he was the first one to build in stone, and others used to build using clay or maybe any other different material. So I'm going to go through these very quickly. All right. And I find this one an idea for changing the design of burial structures. Okay, this is kind of similar, I would say, but I'm not 100% sure. I just go back again to the text. You see how we do it? So here, if I read a little bit further, they would say which covered underground passages where the deceased person was buried for reasons which remain unclear. Hoser's main official, whose name was, conceived of building a taller, more impressive tomb for his king. So he did some changes. This guy, or probably he is an architect for the king, or at that time, or for the pharaoh, he decided to change this. So generally speaking, we're talking about a few changes that took place. So probably this is the correct one. And it is, of course, the correct one here. Now, paragraph C, I'm just going to go again and look for the first two lines and the last two lines as a beginning. If I'm not sure, I go further. So let's hear. The step pyramid has been thoroughly examined and investigated over the last century, and it is now known that the building process went through many different stages. Okay, here, so they're talking about the stages on how they built it. If I go down a little bit, the weight of the enormous mass was a challenge for the builders who placed the stones. So it was a challenge for builders who placed the stones at an inward incline in order to prevent the monument breaking up. So they built in a certain way, in a certain angle, so that it will not, fall apart or break up, as they mentioned. So which one is closer to that? If you remember, we talked about elimination, how easy it is to eliminate definitely wrong answers. So when you're reading, try to eliminate, delete the answers that are for sure wrong. So while I'm going this way, I'm eliminating or deleting the things that I'm sure are not the answers. So I would say the areas and artifacts within the pyramid itself, they didn't talk about areas and, the measurements and so on. Not really mentioned. If I look at number 3, for instance, a king who saved his people, they didn't mention a king who saved people's lives or whatever, or he did something great to help them, not mentioned at all. So this is elimination. If I read number 2, a difficult task for those involved. If I go back to paragraph 3, they talk about the difficult task for those who are involved. So that was difficult for them, right? Because the building could break down, could fall apart, and so on. So those who are involved were the builders, and the difficulties are actually the challenges. So I would choose number 2 for C. So I would write here number 2. All right, let's proceed. Paragraph D now. Just going to go down and go to paragraph D. Again, the same way. I read probably the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines. Now, before reading, you look at these numbers here. You can notice them very quickly, right? So I think I remember talking about how tall and, details about the building and all that. I think I know which option I'm going to choose, but I'm going to just go through it very quickly just to make sure. So I would say when finally completed, the step pyramid rose 62 meters high and was the tallest structure of its time. If you continue reading here, they talk about the size, how big it was, etc. If I go to the last 2 lines here, sorry, it's not here. I would also, Hoser was so proud of his accomplishment that he broke the tradition of having only his own name on the monument and had Imhotep's name carved on it as well. I'm sorry if I pronounce the names wrong. I'm not an expert in, in old Egyptian language. So I look at the measurements and the size. They talk in details about it. So I would probably, for number 17, okay, I can think of choosing number 5, an overview of the external buildings and areas, right? They talk about the buildings and the areas, right? So that would be probably the closest one, because they did mention measurements and areas and meters and so on. Now let's move to paragraph E and see what happens here. Again, the same technique, reading the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines or the last sentence. The burial chamber, now talking about the burial chamber of the tomb where the king's body was laid to rest, was dug beneath the base of the pyramid, surrounded by a vast maze of long tunnels that had rooms off them to discard robbers. Okay, they're talking about what here? They're talking about the inside of the building, right? What is inside? There is a maze. The tomb was, built under the pyramid, etc., etc. If I go down to the last part as well, this is where the sentence starts. There are other historians, however, who claim the vessels were dumped into the shafts as yet another attempt to prevent grave robbers from getting to the king's burial chamber. This looks like a detail to me. This one looks like a main idea. So probably I'm going to find the main idea here. So when I go back to the options, so this is question 18. The areas and artifacts within the pyramid itself. Yes, they did talk about what is inside and what is under the pyramid. So this is my choice. So I would choose number 1. All right, number 19 now. We've got still 2 more. Unfortunately, all of the precautions and intricate design of the underground network did not prevent ancient robbers from finding a way in. Okay, that's sad. So robbers actually got in and probably stole the majority or most of the things. All right. So I read the last 2 lines now. This is where the sentence begins. There was enough left throughout the pyramid and its complex, however, to astonish and amaze the archaeologists who excavated it. So what did I understand? That there were robbers. They went into the grave. They stole lots of things. But still, I had what? Or the scientists or the archaeologists, to be more specific, what was left there was enough for them, to study. And they were amazed at it. And they were, happy probably to find all this evidence to study. So which one matches this? I would look at them again here, and I would rather choose number 8, an incredible experience despite the few remains. So although many things were stolen and only very few were left, it was what? A very good experience to them. They were amazed, astonished, etc. So I would write 8 here. Now, again, remember how important it is to study the Roman numerals. Just until number 10, that would be enough. All right, let's go to the last paragraph now. If I go down, okay, Egyptologist Miroslav Vernier, okay, some guy who is probably an expert on studying old Egyptian, archaeology and all that, writes, few monuments hold a place in human history as significant as that of the step pyramid in Saqqara. It can be said without exaggeration that this pyramid complex constitutes a milestone in the evolution, etc. Now, as you can see here, this sentence starts here and it actually ends here. And then if I go to the last also 2 lines or the last sentence, the step pyramid was a revolutionary advance in architecture and became the archetype. So it was revolutionary and it became the archetype which all the other great pyramid builders of Egypt would follow. These are my keywords here. It looks like this sentence is the main idea. It summarizes everything that was mentioned in the paragraph. So which one shall I choose now? Let's go back and see. All right, so this one is probably the best match, a pyramid design that others copied. And this is what was exactly said in this paragraph in the last sentence. So as you can see how easy it is, we managed to finish in time and all our answers are correct. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this so that everybody would get benefit from it. Take a good care and have a good day. Bye.